Today, I get to talk to Eitan, who is actually the victim of a political prosecution by Biden's DOJ. You blew the whistle on Texas Children's Hospital, violating Texas law and doing sex change surgeries and giving kids puberty blockers and hormone treatments. And they were lying about it. Not just were they doing all that, they lied about it. And you blew the whistle on that. And now the DOJ is going after you. So tell us your story.
Yeah, so really broadly, the DOJ is coming after me. I'm going to federal court soon. And this is for exposing the fact that Texas Children's Hospital was lying to the public about the existence of their transgender program. Last Tuesday, 3 heavily armed U.S. Marshals were at my door and informed me that I was being indicted with 4 felonies. But this all started when the hospital had unequivocally said that they were shutting down their transgender program because of legal risks. And this was in response to an opinion released by Ken Paxton a few weeks before, saying that it could be investigated as child abuse. So it makes sense that the hospital would do that, right? They would try to cover themselves, say we're shutting down this program. But I worked there, I did surgery there. I knew categorically this was untrue because the people who were doing these surgeries told me they were doing it. So in the months following, there were multiple people I worked with who came up to me and told me that they're implanting these puberty blocking devices into very young children.
This happened over a year ago, that you blew the whistle on Texas Children's Hospital, and Biden's DOJ is going after you now, almost a year later. Why is that happening now?
Yeah, so it was about a month later. It was on the day of my graduation. So one of the most important days of my life, my graduation from surgical training. A couple of hours before, I get an aggressive knock on the door. 2 federal agents with Health and Human Services are at my door. They show me their badges and tell me that they're investigating a case regarding medical records. And we ended up not talking to them, but they handed me a target letter telling me that I was a potential target of a criminal investigation. And it was signed by a U.S. assistant attorney in the Southern District of Texas with the Department of Justice. So we had a decision to make, right? Do we submit to this or do we fight back? And we decided to fight back, right? Because we had no choice.
Let's walk through that day that you open your door and there's federal agents standing there. What's going through your mind? That must have been terrifying.
Yeah, it was crazy because it was a few hours before we were meeting with my family, right? We were going to go to the graduation. It was June 23rd, it was a Friday. But I opened the door and then you see him outside, you just kind of freeze. And your mind just stops, but there's some visceral part of who you are that knows exactly what's happening. These people are there because you had an effect, right? Because you blew the whistle and they wanted to make an example out of me. They wanted to instill fear. They wanted to intimidate. But as they're coming to find out, they knocked on the wrong door. The reason they're coming after me is to make an example out of me, right? To dissuade other whistleblowers from coming out, because what we were able to do in our original story is expose the fact that the biggest children's hospital in the world was lying to the public. And within 24 hours, the Texas Senate passed a bill to make what we exposed illegal. So if they can come after me, right, if they can win this, then the door shuts permanently on any other whistleblower in the field of medicine. Because people know that if they do something similar, right, if they tell the truth, if they expose corruption, then they're going to have the Department of Justice, the FBI, Health and Human Services coming after them.
And it's to silence whistleblowers, like you said, and not just specifically in the medical field, but anywhere. They just want to silence whistleblowers. So when you blew the whistle with Christopher Rufo, did you ever even think that the DOJ would come after you like this?
We knew that was a possibility because we were aware of what was happening in our country. But there's a certain point where your ethical obligation to your profession, my moral obligation as an individual to these children, to my future children, goes above that, right? Where whatever the cost is, in order to protect these children, prevent these misguided doctors from permanently mutilating and sterilizing them, that something has to be done. Yeah, so we knew that it was always a possibility. We knew that it was a chance we had to take.
So looking back, is there anything that you would do differently?
No, never in a million years. Never.
Love it. Love it. And how has your life changed since that day?
On a daily basis, right? Like you just go on with your life just like it's completely normal, right? You hang out with your friends, you spend time with your family, you walk, I walk my dog, and I feel my baby kicking, for the first time. It's amazing. And but then there's this other side where it's this existential crisis, right? Where it's like you think that I might not be there for my daughter being born, and that even though I'm the one, right? It's like I told the truth, right? The hospital was lying; they were harming these kids, but I'm the one who's going to federal trial, and there's bitterness involved. But then you understand what you're involved in. Like if it's this bad for us, like what's going to happen if we don't do something?
It's wild. Like they're going after you for telling us that they're lying and breaking Texas law and doing these surgeries on kids, but they're not going after the doctors who are actually chopping off confused kids' body parts and injecting them with these hormones that are irreversible and damaging. Eitan, I know you know this, but you are a hero, and I know I speak for millions of Americans when I say that. So we are definitely praying for you, and I think God is protecting you. And where can people support you?
Yeah, so they can go to givesendgo.com/Texas_whistleblower. And yeah, it's just important for people to know. I mean, we're going to federal trial. Every dollar we've raised is through like $5, $25, $50 donations. And it's amazing to see the amount of support people have provided. Every single comment on that Give, Send, Go, we read. We read it every single night. And, during our darkest moments, right, we read those comments, and it just makes the world of a difference.
It makes me so happy to hear that people are supporting you, and Americans stand with you. And before we wrap up, what would your message be to someone who might be thinking about becoming a whistleblower?
Yeah, I think that especially for people in medicine and healthcare, people don't want to blow the whistle, right? They don't want to put themselves out there because they do this calculus. Like it's like an equation they do in their mind. It's like, well, if I do this, I might lose my job. But I have to pay for my mortgage. I have to pay for my kids' school. So they justify it because they think, well, I have to take care of my children, right? But the thing is, if you don't do the right thing when it's the really difficult thing to do, what you're doing is delivering your children into a much more dangerous world. So what you're actually doing is not taking care of your kids. It's so much more important to face this corruption the moment you see it in order to preserve our society, to preserve our profession, to preserve the ethics and dignity in the people around us. And the only way to do that is to shed light when you see something wrong going on behind closed doors. So, you can think that, you're protecting your children by not speaking out, but it's the exact opposite.
Yeah, like the future of our country depends on it.
And quite literally, it actually does. Yeah.
Yeah. Eitan, thank you so much for your time. We are rooting for you. We are praying for you. And hopefully we'll hear some good news very soon.
Yeah. Thank you.